what they settled out of court,
what they classified internally, what the lawyers said must never reach the public record. Someone kept copies. This is sealed records. Half a million Americans died from opioid overdoses. Not cancer, not car accidents, pills. One family made $35 billion from this crisis. They walked away with the money. No one went to prison. How does that happen? The Sackler family owned Purdue Pharma, a private company. One product changed everything. OxyContin. Their names mark museum wings, from the Met to the Louvre. Medical schools, universities. For decades, Sackler meant philanthropy, culture, medicine. The fortune that built those wings came from pills. The pills came from a playbook written before OxyContin existed. Arthur Sackler died in 1987. He never saw OxyContin. But in the 1950s and 60s, he invented something more powerful than any drug: modern pharmaceutical marketing. He took Valium, a sedative, and convinced doctors it treated everyday anxiety. He marketed directly to physicians through medical journals. He funded research that supported his products. Arthur taught his brothers the business. Doctors could be sold to. Medicine could be marketed. Perception could override evidence. By 2001, OxyContin reached Appalachia, Ohio, rural Maine, small towns where everyone knew everyone, where a back injury meant disability, where doctors wanted to help. Communities trusted their physicians, filled their prescriptions, had no idea what was coming. They became test cases for the most dangerous lie in modern medicine. For 100 years, doctors knew opioids were addictive. Morphine, heroin. They all came from the opium poppy. The risk was established medicine. To sell OxyContin, the Sacklers had to convince doctors of something extraordinary: that opioids given to patients in real pain were different, safe, non-addictive. How do you overturn a century of medical caution? 5 sentences. Not a study, not a trial. A letter to the editor. New England Journal of Medicine, 1980. 5 sentences describing hospitalized patients on short-term opioids. Not a clinical trial, not a peer-reviewed study. An observation about patients in hospital beds, watched by nurses around the clock. Purdue Pharma cited this letter as proof that opioids weren't addictive. So did the entire pharmaceutical industry. By 1996, the Porter-Jick letter had been cited 600 times. Each citation claiming less than 1% of patients became addicted to opioids. Each one ignoring what the letter actually said. Hospitalized patients, short-term use, controlled doses. The context disappeared. Just the number remained, less than 1%. The FDA approved OxyContin in 1995. The label included a claim that would reshape American medicine. The controlled release formula reduced abuse potential, made it safer than other opioids. Purdue had no evidence for this claim. The FDA examiner who wrote that label, Dr. Curtis Wright, left the agency 1 year later. His next job? Purdue Pharma. OxyContin launched in 1996 with 900 sales representatives, Purdue's largest deployment ever. Each rep's bonus tied to one metric: prescription volume. Not patient outcomes, not treatment success. Pills sold. The more doctors prescribed, the more reps earned. Some bonuses exceeded annual salaries. By 1997, 1 year after launch, Purdue knew exactly what was happening. OxyContin was being crushed and snorted. The controlled release mechanism that supposedly made it less addictive, defeated with a hammer. Patients doubled doses, tripled them, sold them. Purdue knew. They documented it. They discussed it in meetings. They told no one. By 1999, OxyContin generated $1 billion annually. The Sackler fortune doubled every few years. The epidemic's first wave was already building in Appalachia. Mining towns, mill towns, places where men worked in pain, where doctors were trusted absolutely. Purdue had a choice. They knew what was happening. What did they decide? They blamed the victims. The company called it a problem of drug abusers, criminals stealing medicine from real patients. The pills weren't the problem, the people were. Their executives knew better. Internal emails from 2001 show they tracked abuse reports by region. They knew which doctors prescribed the most. They knew which pharmacies moved impossible volumes. They knew, and they kept selling. In 2007, it caught up with them. Purdue Pharma pled guilty to federal criminal charges. They'd lied about OxyContin being less addictive than other opioids. For 11 years. The fine? $600 million. That's less than 1 year of OxyContin sales. 3 executives pled guilty to misdemeanors. No prison time. The Sackler family, the owners, weren't charged at all. 1 year after pleading guilty, Purdue launched a new campaign. Higher doses this time, 60 milligrams, 80 milligrams pills. The settlement wasn't a stop sign, it was a toll booth. They paid it and kept driving. By 2014, the toll booths were everywhere. 2,600 lawsuits. States, cities, families, everyone wanted accountability. The liability was becoming impossible to ignore. That's when the Sackler family started moving the money. $10 billion. Out of Purdue, into family trusts and offshore accounts. As lawsuits mounted, the fortune disappeared. Was it legal? Did it work? The Sackler family extracted more than $10 billion from Purdue Pharma. Not as salary, not as dividends, as distributions. Money moved into family trusts, shell companies, offshore accounts, nearly impossible to claw back. Massachusetts was the first to name them. Individual Sacklers, not just the company. The Attorney General called it what it was: fraudulent transfer. The family knew lawsuits were coming. Internal emails proved it. They moved the money first. Courts would later agree. This wasn't business, this was extraction. 2019, Purdue files for bankruptcy. The company that made $35 billion claims it cannot pay its debts. States, cities, families of the dead, all creditors now. The Sacklers, who took the billions out, they're not. Here's the problem. Purdue is bankrupt. The Sacklers have the billions. But the Sacklers never declared bankruptcy. They're not parties to the proceeding. The money sits protected. Trusts, offshore accounts, legal architecture built for exactly this moment. Can the legal system reach them? Can anyone? A federal bankruptcy judge does something unprecedented. He grants the Sackler family complete immunity from all civil opioid lawsuits, forever. They never filed for bankruptcy themselves. The price? $4.5 billion, paid over 9 years. From money they'd already extracted from Purdue. They keep the rest. They took everything. They return a fraction, eventually. No admission of wrongdoing, no criminal charges. The settlement includes a single requirement. Museums can remove the Sackler name from their walls, if they want to. Most don't. June 2023, the Supreme Court strikes it down. Bankruptcy law cannot shield people who never declared bankruptcy. The Sacklers' immunity deal is void. Accountability seems possible. Within months, they negotiate a new deal. $6.5 billion now. Still no admission of guilt, still no criminal charges. The price went up. The accountability stayed at zero. 500,000 Americans dead, billions extracted, a fraction returned, on a payment plan, from fortunes already moved beyond reach. Not one Sackler has spent a day in prison. Their art collections remain intact. Their compounds remain occupied. Here's what no one wants to say. The system didn't fail. The system worked exactly as designed. Build the science, capture the regulator, corrupt the sales force, move the money before anyone notices. And no, the worst thing that can happen is you give some back. How does a family kill 500,000 people and walk away with billions? They don't get away with it. They pay for the right to do it.